There was a time at which I stood at a crossroads. I received offers to sing at 2 festivals, Ultra Music Festival with thumping electronic beats, and Bali Spirit Fest, a holistic spiritual festival in Indonesia. I accepted both invitations and experienced the contrast of realities. And it was Bali Spirit Fest that truly shifted my world. It opened my eyes to the possibility of living in a healthy harmony with nature, and without the chaos of any substances. Ceremonial music became my path. That's where I discovered the power of the voice as medicine. And it's not about performing, it's about being a conduit, a hollow vessel through which energy flows. Someone once told me, your voice, your song saved me. In ceremonies cocooned in the vibrations of music, people journey deep. It's a reminder of our innate connection to something divine. I believe the future of humanity relies on us connecting more deeply with each other and living in harmony with nature.
Thank you, Emilia, for being here. Welcome to the show. Excited for our conversation. Why don't you give people a little bit of background, some of the important milestones that brought you to now, what you're up to now, and what has your journey been to now?
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Kadeen. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is an honor.
Yeah.
And let's see, a few milestones. One thing that really changed my life, because I used to be very go, 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 although it might not look like it because now I speak pretty slowly and I'm actually a ruminator. I used to be a bit more impulsive, I think.
A ruminator? What's that?
So a ruminator is like a cow. You know how the cows chew the food and they have multiple stomachs, and so they digest and they digest and they digest?
Okay.
Well, mentally, a lot of times I'll do that with ideas.
Okay.
I'll have an idea and then I'll take a long time and I'll envision it from all the angles before I act, rather than just have an idea and go for it.
Okay.
And the same thing with my words. I'll rarely just think something and go for it, unless I'm in a channeling situation, which nowadays happens pretty often due to the nature of my work.
Right.
So let's see. What slowed me down was yoga. I used to be a dance instructor and I got an injury in my early mid-20s, and so it took me to yoga as a healing modality. Instead of having a surgery, because my meniscus was almost non-existent. And so I was able to regenerate that tissue through yoga and through changing my lifestyle and stretching and just loving myself more, being gentler with myself.
Yeah.
And it might seem a little bit tangential, but I'll get to the point.
Okay.
Through yoga, I started listening to mantras and a different genre of music, because I used to teach dance and be a dancer of really aggressive styles, Jamaican dance hall, which is intense twerking, essentially. And the lyrics are pretty aggressive.
Okay.
So mantras...
Were you living in Florida at that time?
I was living in Hawaii.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I started listening to mantras and practicing yoga, and my whole life started changing. And it probably sounds like a movie, but I started being more mindful of what I was eating, mindful of the ways I was moving through life, mindful of the things I was thinking, and even able to be the observer rather than just letting my thoughts cycle. And the mantras, I started singing them because I had always been a singer.
Yeah.
But now, instead of singing these aggressive lyrics or just toxic love song lyrics, I started singing mantra. And through that, I got invited to sing at a festival in Bali, in Indonesia. And what's really interesting is that the same week that this festival was happening, it's called Bali Spirit Fest. This was a long time ago. This was a few years before COVID happened.
Okay.
The same week as that, or within a 10-day span, was Ultra Music Festival.
Okay.
And I used to sing electronic music. And I was invited to sing at Ultra Music Festival and at this mantra, medicine music, hippy-dippy, holistic, vegan festival in Indonesia within a 10-day span. And I was working full-time at this moment.
Wow.
And for years, I had been invited to Bali Spirit Fest, and I didn't, and this is a recurring theme in life, accepting yourself. I didn't accept that was part of my path. And so I would sing at Ultra, and I would party, and do all these aggressive behaviors while still singing mantra and practicing yoga. And this one year, I finally decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to be wild. I'm going to sing at Ultra, party really hard, and then fly across the world to Bali and sing at this festival as well.
Okay.
And that festival changed my life because at Ultra, people are taking substances, and a lot of these substances make people very selfish and self-abuse. There's a lot of self-abuse there. And at the other festival in Bali, it was barefoot, nature. Everyone was glowing from the inside,
Yeah.
healthy. People were enjoying their lives substance-free. I don't even think there was coffee. There was cacao, but
Oh.
it was a completely different lifestyle. And I saw this is an option. And this was a sustainable lifestyle because partying and ingesting chemicals and being in those environments, it's not sustainable. And I was gifted the opportunity to live and to witness this other lifestyle.
Interesting. And how did you find yourself in the like electronic music scene? Were you into like drugs, partying? Like, how did you end up there?
Yes, and yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I first came to Miami when I was 18. I went to college at UM.
Okay.
And I've never been a drinker,
Yeah.
but I've always loved psychedelics.
Okay.
And so I would go dancing, and then there would be mind-expanding experiences available. And I love dancing. My mom's a professional dancer. I was a professional dancer. And so I just wanted to keep dancing. And so I did, but with substances.
Yeah. How long did that period last?
A long time.
Yeah.
The last time I was able to take a chemical was right before COVID.
Okay.
Because I started sitting with plants, and now, I haven't tried recently, but around COVID, I had been sitting with plants for so long that one time I was at a party and somebody gave me like half of an ecstasy. And so I tried it and I vomited immediately. And then, being myself, like a week later, someone gave me another one and I tried and I vomited immediately. And I was like, okay, that's enough.
Okay. Wow.
So now I'm really grateful
Yeah.
not to be able to take that anymore, because for a long time it was part of my life.
Mm-hmm. And tell me a little bit about your journey. Like you're from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Or actually Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
Right. And any significant moments there, like that define your character that you've done? Yeah.
Yeah, probably my childhood and the ocean and nature and flowers and the connection with the plants. I recently spent time visiting my parents, and my mom is the Hawaiian one. My dad is very American, blonde hair, blue eyed, great guy. Both of them are great humans. And my mother, I didn't realize it, but when we spend time away from something and then we go see it, because we're out of our element, we notice all these subtleties, right? So I hadn't noticed it before, but I reflect very much my mother, the Hawaiian one, because she greets everything with spirit. When we come into the house, she's like, "Hi, house, thank you for waiting for us. We're so excited to be back here safely." And she talks to her plants, and I always talk to the plants. I always thank my house. I always tell my house I'll be back. Wait for me. Please stay safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love, if I'm ever talking to someone and there's a plant nearby,
Yeah.
a lot of times, and this has been pointed out to me, I'll pet the plant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do speak to everything with spirit, and I think that being raised in that way, will clearly have an impact on you.
Do you think over time there has in percentage of humanity, there always been people like that would welcome the plants and talk to spirits and plants and things like that? Monica is part of that kind also. Do you think over time percentage of those people kind of stayed about the same, or over time it's been changing? Or
I'd say there's a renaissance now.
Yeah.
I'd say that originally all humans were like that. And then with the Industrial Revolution, and also with different changes in life that took us away from nature,
Yeah.
people stopped communing. And it's when you stop communing, it's like anything. If you don't see a friend for a while, you're not going to talk to your friend. And so if that friend is a rock or the ocean or an element of nature with whom you haven't communed, then you're not going to acknowledge them.
Yeah.
But if you acknowledge, all of our ancestors were barefoot and walking this earth,
Yeah.
exposed to all of the elements, all the plants, all the animals on a daily basis, and communing. And then we built our homes, which took us away from the wind and the rain. And then we stopped being primarily farmers. So now we don't really have a connection with our food. And it's wild. You know that most children can identify labels from different companies, but can't identify the face of the animal that they eat on a regular basis. Or the fish.
Maybe that's on purpose. So they're kind of disconnect from the violence, or that's a form of numbing, of like human numbing, that you're like closing your eyes to suffering. I don't know.
I don't know, because we could get into conspiracy theories and how the government or whatever powers are trying to desensitize us.
Right.
But it is what it is. And adults, we've been around these specific plants. Wherever you're from, you've been around these plants that are local to your area. But can you name them? Do you know their medicinal properties? Because all plants have some medicine in them, whether it's the leaves, the root, the stem. All of them exist for a purpose.
Do you think over time we're losing our connection with nature, or there may be a trend where yes, we have a lot more technology, and it does seem like everyone is glued to their phone. But I think the next stage of technology is where the most advanced technology is the one that's least noticeable, where instead of, let's say, screens in front of our eyes, there will be maybe transparent glasses or transparent something where it's kind of like not noticeable. It's very ambient. It's not in your face, so that you can be more present in the environment, and maybe you are in nature. You're looking at nature through an additional layer of some kind of augmentation that tells you what the name of the plant is, and it educates you about your surroundings, and creates more excitement about it's kind of like psychedelic experience opens up your eyes on so much more that you haven't seen yet. It's like broadening your spectrum of frequencies that you're able to see. What if technology does that for us, and it connects us closer to the present moment?
I'm not quite sure what the question is.
Yes,
the question
right.
is
That's right.
what
Exactly.
if?
Yeah, exactly. It was partially me just sharing my vision of how technology could transform it. Thank you. What was your last point where that you shared that I kind of wanted to connect that to technology?
Humans no longer commune with the elements in nature. And then you're saying that maybe technology could be that bridge.
Right. The question is, do you see hope in us reconnecting to nature on a global scale, not just like a minority of people like ourselves, but the whole species go back into being more connected to nature?
Wow, that is an enormous question. Do I see hope?
Yeah.
I have hope.
Okay.
Do I see things moving in that direction? Unfortunately, not without an enormous change such as the fall of internet and electricity, in which we are forced to get into nature. Because I, once in a while, will work with children.
Yeah.
And I know children that really don't like being outside, because a lot of humans and children are used to controlled environments where they can control everything.
Yeah.
From what they're looking at to the volume of, you can control the brightness on a screen, the volume of the audio, the temperature, the recline of your chair, the fabric of your clothes. And in nature, everything is unpredictable and uncontrollable.
Yeah.
And so I know children, I work with children that I'm going to take out the kind of. I know children that do not like the unpredictable. Yeah. They have lost their marvel and their wonder and their sense of awe because they only like what's comfortable. And if that's a child, that's the future. Now, not all children are like that. So do I have hope? Yes. Do I see that as a trend? No.
Right. Yeah.
There are exceptions, though. For
sure. Yeah. I like this quote or this idea shared by Alan Watts, this very famous one, where he says, imagine that you can dream any dream you want. I'm sure you've heard of that one. I don't know if you have. But basically, imagine that you can dream any dream you want. You would, and every night you go for like 80 years worth of experience, and you can have like a really long, whatever you want type experience. You basically, every night you live a new life. And so you will probably start with the most exotic experiences that your mind can possibly think of, where you are in the full control of the situation, right? And after a certain amount of nights, you will start getting a little bit bored of the full predictableness of the reality, and you'll start infusing it with more and more moments that are surprising, unpredictable, and that will last until you reach a moment of now where the whole reality is in a way unpredictable. You're not in control of it. So I like this analogy. Maybe what you're describing is an intermediary step of us wanting to control and having this desire to control more. But I think at some point where everything is in control, it's just going to become very boring, and we would want to actually to introduce some kind of surprise, variable.
And when things get boring, the human nature, we need these changes, we need this variability, and that's when unhealthy behaviors begin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, obsessive compulsive, XYZ, you name it, or addiction to XYZ.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe we can go to. You call yourself ceremonial musician? Is that what's your official title?
Well,
whatever title you give yourself now. Like, what's your current title?
On Instagram, it's ceremonial singer and educator.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be official.
Okay. I mean, what is official then? You decide that's your official person.
Spiritual singer.
Okay.
An educator.
Describe to me, what is a spiritual singer?
Spiritual singer is one that doesn't prostitute his or her music for money. They sing for and through and with and to spirit.
So you're saying if there's money involved in exchange of singing to something else, that is a form of prostitution for singing.
One of my teachers said that he would never prostitute himself for music because music is what he comes here to do. And what that means, I know it's a very strong and this word has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go sing hip hop for money.
Okay.
I'm not going to go sing toxic love songs for money anymore. I used to sing at bars and clubs for money, and I used to sing all these lyrics that were not good. Not good to study, because one has to study the lyrics.
Yeah.
One has to sing the lyrics, and then one is sharing the lyrics. So they're coming through and spread out multiple times.
Yeah.
And then in that ambiance, people are drinking, and the more that they drink, the more likely I would have been to get rebooked. And so I used to have residency at different bars and different clubs based on the bar sales that night. And so it's just supporting this negative cycle that I don't want to support anymore.
Makes
so
sense.
now I'll sing mantra, medicine music, and anything within that genre, because at the end of the day, everything has medicine. But I'm very selective with what I accept.
Makes sense, yeah. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with exchange of your talents for money. Yes,
I agree.
Right?
But in integrity.
Integrity, for sure, yeah. Because I've heard there's like relationship between prostitution and doing it for money, doing it something that you wouldn't want to do. You're doing for money. Then yeah, I agree, for sure. Okay, so ceremonial music. How does it work? What is it for? Give me
How does it work and what is it for?
Yeah.
Well, everything at the end of the day is vibration. Color, sound, matter, everything is consistently vibrating. And so I'll work in situations in which the vibration is amplified, and many times that will be ceremonies where people are taking mind-altering substances. And in that case, they're extra sensitive to lights, to sound, to energy. And it's fascinating. Because it's a human who has his or her routine, has his or her entire life story. And they simply ingest something small, be it a psychedelic tea or something else, and their whole world changes for a period of time. And it's my responsibility to guide that energy and to support that energy and to help move that energy. And I do that through song. So it's kind of like, for if anyone has never taken psychedelics, it's kind of like, imagine that you're watching a movie and you have no idea what this movie is going to hold.
Yeah.
And you have a beautiful soundtrack. And that soundtrack guides the movie. And maybe the movie is just short stories with characters that you know, but you can't hear what they're saying. But because the soundtrack is so beautiful, you can only imagine that it's beautiful experiences and exchanges and conversations that they're having.
Yeah, yeah. You know, Terence McKenna says, "Oh, it's not a guide or like oftentimes people would call themselves guides in those psychedelic ceremonial sessions, and most of the time they're more of like a serving a function as a sitter, someone who is just creating a container, because to be a guide you need to know where they are to be able to like navigate it with them." And it's, I don't know who can actually say that I know where you are, so I can guide you.
Because every mind is an entire universe. But I do have something to speak to that. I think that a sitter, in my experience, a sitter is different from a guide. And this is only in my limited experience. A sitter is one who accompanies but does not take the medicine. A guide is one that takes the medicine, and because that person is trained and experienced, they don't know exactly what imagery and what sensations and what that person is experiencing, but they can read that person's energy and that person's movements and sounds and breath patterns to understand what that person needs and how to best serve them. For example, I served somebody and I did not take any recently. Versus in other experiences, I serve and I take. And in that case, I'm more of guiding the energy.
Yeah.
So the sitter versus the guide.
Right. Yeah. And at that point, I feel like it's more of your intuitive higher self that is guiding. It's not really, the guiding is happening from a higher state of awareness.
It's not me. It's in those moments, my responsibility is to be a hollow vessel, to get myself out of the way and just be of service.
Exactly. It's almost like the guide shows up through you, or guidance shows up through you. I
actually had feedback from a ceremony a few days ago where one of the other facilitators said that when he looked at me, I was not in my body. I had become the container, and that he could see my energy holding everybody with the vibrations.
While you were singing?
Yeah. And he said that my energy had expanded outside of my body and had circled and sphered the entire group. Yeah.
Any memorable stories of other people being transformed positively through experience like that, when you would sing and you would see people really get into maybe deeper experience or more cathartic experience, things like that?
Yeah, I receive a lot of feedback. One time someone said, of all the ceremonies, many years ago, one person said that they didn't connect whenever I would share my voice, which is valid, and it's always good.
Yeah.
And it keeps me human and humble to always have that feedback. No, and not every vibration is resonant, right? And that's okay. But other than that, I've had situations where I'll be singing and it will be dark and people will have no idea who is singing, what the origin of the sound is. And then years later, I'll be singing somewhere and that person will come up to me and they'll say, "You saved me. Do you remember years ago in that ceremony in XYZ? I was having the hardest time and you sang," and they'll remember the song.
Wow.
And that's when you know that you're of service. And it's definitely not from the ego. It's that this is what I'm meant to be doing at this moment, and it might not be forever, but I've already sung in so many other scenarios where it didn't feel resonant with me, and this is just kind of the only thing that I can do that feels in integrity. And I'm really grateful because I didn't seek it. I just continuously get invited into these spaces to be of service. So it's always with gratitude and humility. But have I shared with you the first time that I channeled, that I was conscious and being and able to witness myself?
No, please.
It was so interesting. It was at Daybreaker, I guess it was February or March, right before COVID happened. Because COVID in Miami, I think everything went on lockdown March 19th.
Yeah.
So I guess there was a Daybreaker right before that. And I had been contracted to sing for the closing ceremony. And I had my little playlist with background tracks for the DJ to play. And I was going to sing these songs on top of these backing tracks. And I had it all planned out and I was ready to go. So the song starts playing and I have the microphone. And other words come out. And I'm here in my conscious mind like, wait, what's going on? These are not the words I've been practicing. I don't know what's happening. What are these words? Where are they coming from? And then I was also able to witness and be like, oh, wow, this is powerful. I think I'm just going to let this happen. And the conscious mind was like, wait, but what if I just start saying mumbo jumbo? What's going on? And then it was like, no. This is really powerful. And people were crying and I had no recollection of what I was saying, but I sang the entire song and those tracks were like 6 minutes. So it's 6 minutes of channeled message for that specific group. And afterwards, people were crying on the floor, hugging each other.
No way.
People were recording me like mouths agape. And I had no idea.
Wow.
I hadn't planned it. I still don't know what I said.
Well, I'm sure you have some kind of recording. Somebody
did record it. And from that point forward, and then COVID happened, and I started not being able to go party, and I started sitting in more and more ceremonial settings and getting deeper into my practices.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't take drugs anymore. And so that was kind of like the first time that Spirit was like, hey, we're here. Your vessel's getting cleaned. You're going to work for us now.
How did you feel in that moment when you were actually singing? You lost the sense of self, and you were just what was going on inside of you?
I was elated. I was fully trusting and surrendering, and just being that hollow vessel, which that was my first time, and I've been practicing for years now.
Okay,
now we're in 2025. Right, it's been 5 years.
And can you say that now you can almost do it on demand?
Like, I do it on a regular basis. Yeah.
How often?
Like 4 times a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And break it down for me. Like, how does that? What happens?
I usually close my eyes.
Yeah.
And it'll take not a couple of minutes, like a couple of breaths, maybe a few breaths, and I'm just like, okay, what's the message? What's the message? And it always comes through in song.
Mm-hmm. Does it start with the particular note, or a particular word, or the sound, or like how does that? Is there an entry point?
It starts with humming.
Humming, yeah. That's your entry point. And then the word starts to like.
The words come out.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do with those words? Do you write them down into songs? No. Okay.
Once in a while, but usually they're just for that space and that time and that moment. And so I share them for whoever is there.
It might be worth recording them.
People ask me,
yeah,
what was that? I'm like, it only existed right now.
Oh,
yeah, I have a little microphone. I can start
recording. Yeah, I'm actually planning to run this experiment to record my entire life experience 24/7. Just everything that happens to me, just record the whole thing.
What about the bathroom?
Record the whole thing. Just the whole thing, yeah. And I'm not worried that somebody finds the audio of me pooping or something. I don't really. I mean, maybe there will be moments where I put it away or something, but I want to record every interaction. The main thing is record every interaction or every moment where I have meaningful something being shared, and I don't usually have a notepad or something to record it right then and there, but there are a lot of golden nuggets in life that just happens. And I wonder if you can start like collecting. So you know how all of this, Facebooks, Instagrams, and Googles of the world collect so much data about us, and they don't really share that data with us. They only use it to sell us more things, basically to show ads. First time in history, we're able to collect our own data, and for the first time in history, we're also able to analyze it for our own benefit. So let's say you can now have insight on every word that you say or every word that you hear, like patterns. What are some recurring patterns in your life? What are the types of people you're attracting? How are events in your life related to the conversations that you've had prior? And you can start uncovering all kinds of like hidden patterns of your life, and I think that there's a lot of value to be discovered there. That's kind of the main intention. I understand that security and privacy concerns that people might have. I'm willing to be the what's that word, trial,
the guinea pig.
The guinea pig for that. Yeah, I think there's usefulness there.
See, that's where you and I might differ.
Okay, tell me in which way.
Differ. Where I don't like outsourcing my power. For me, I would try to do the same thing just by reflecting, by being mindful. So let's say you said keywords that I said, other keywords that I keep hearing in conversations, and the types of people that I attract. If those were 3 focus points, I would maybe spend a week and focus on that. And I would listen to myself without recording. I would pay keen attention to other people without recording. And I would notice with whom I was conversing, whether it be through email, text, or face-to-face.
For sure.
Because I think that the more that we outsource our power, the less in touch we are with the present. So something like that, and I have nothing against the Aura ring. But I think that that's outsourcing something that we should know and feel intuitively. How well did you sleep? Right? How long did you sleep? How's your heart rate? All these quantitative measures. One hopefully would know. Next thing you know, and I'm sure this already exists, it's going to be like, you should eat now.
Right.
Remember to drink water.
Right.
Like, what happened to feeling? What happened to our sensations?
Totally. No, I'm the same way. I don't want to be relying on technology to tell me, oh, you should sleep now, or you should poop now, or you should do whatever now. You know what I mean? There are patterns that you're not aware. So they're mainly like long-term patterns that you never even thought about. Yes, on a daily basis, bringing you to presence and being aware of as much as possible. I think that's a great thing. But I'll give you an example with the maps that you said, it takes away presence in some way. Imagine, if you are driving without the map, yes, you will be very much on the road, like present.
You'll be so present.
Driving. And you might lose an opportunity to speak with your loved one while you're doing that. You will be just paying attention to something that's not even that important, is driving. You know what I mean?
Driving has both of your lives.
Driving is?
If your loved one is with you, both of your lives are vulnerable and are in the driver's hands. So maybe the driver could be the co-pilot, the co-pilot. Your loved one could be the co-pilot. And in that way you could converse. But I think about how many people are distracted driving, looking at the maps, and don't see a pedestrian or don't see another car. I think a presence is really helpful.
Okay, let's take it then a step even further. What if it's a very safe self-driving capability, right? So now you don't even have to pay attention to the road. Now you can spend all of your time looking into someone's eyes and communicating with them, being present with them and not with the road.
Okay, as long as that is a reliable machine.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, the maps is fairly reliable too, to like tell you where to go and how to, like, not to how to press the pedals and how to like,
maneuver
and stuff. Yeah, that's still up to you.
Which in Miami, I think a lot of people could practice.
Totally. Oh yeah, 100%.
It's comical.
We left. Oh yeah, so the notes and things. Yeah, so I don't know if I've shared this with you. I have this practice where I would go on the walk with my headphones on with some binaural beat sound music, just to put me in the present state, and I would open up the channel. I would basically set an intention to any message to come through, whatever message is there for me to receive. And at the same time as I'm walking and listening to music, I have an app that's running on the background that's pausing when I'm not talking, and it's recording when I am talking.
Okay.
And so it's a stream of consciousness, just thoughts come out. I don't have to stop and disturb, like break the kind of the flow of things. So I just verbalize them, I'm not worried about, again, structuring them or having them related to anything else. Just whatever ideas comes through my mind, I'm catching them right then and there. And then I've created this automation that would then process it and send me a nice email with all of the ideas structured, and so I can reflect on them more. So that's been very useful. And the idea of recording the whole day is kind of the extension of that, to be able to look at what's happening in my mind, because we can be aware of every idea that goes through my mind. And maybe we're not meant to, but if we can, why not to see what's there?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's curiosity.
Curiosity. Oh, yeah. Curiosity is definitely the main reason for me to do anything. Yeah, like that's what drives. But definitely enough about me. Let's go back to the ceremony. Oh, yeah. So for the channeling, what is that channeling usually about, would you say? Like, is there a theme, a thread, or topics that are coming through you?
It's never anything negative.
Okay.
Yeah. It's always something in service to whomever is there.
Okay.
A lot of times it incorporates breathing. So it'll be a musical guide to how to breathe. Like reminding to inhale, and what are we inhaling, and exhale. And that's usually not usually, but sometimes that's how it starts. And sometimes that will come back in the middle as a chorus. And then it's always celestial and beautiful. But it's unique to every experience.
Because it's tailored for that specific experience. Are you saying that the usefulness of it being recorded and shared is not as high? I'm sure it's still very impactful.
Still be applicable, because sometimes it comes through in Spanish, sometimes in English, maybe both. I'm not sure.
Have you had an experience where you feel like you're communicating and receiving messages, asking, inquiring, and receiving answers? I don't know. Or is it usually one-way channel?
It's a one-way channel.
Okay.
Yeah. I just open it.
And have you had an experience where someone being aware that the channel is open and then they would inquire through you?
No. Not yet.
I've had those moments actually for myself.
Yeah?
I have moments in which my higher self starts to speak. And Monica is aware of it, and she would inquire.
I love that.
Yeah. And yeah, so sometimes the output is noisy, meaning my mind is too in a way to get anything meaningful out of it, but often the channel is clear and it's very useful. Yeah.
I love Monica. She's like, oh,
yeah,
he's in here.
All right, good.
Herself.
Guru Kirill is speaking now, and so she would, okay, so what do I do here? What do I do there? And then she would get answers.
Can you give an example? Or of the most recent one, or the most impactful?
Yeah, I mean, anything around like, oh, what should I do in this situation? Like, in my job, and I don't want to do this, and I feel like I need to do this, and I would just channel what comes through around, and then at the end she would be like, "You're right. Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what I needed to hear," type thing. Yeah. So things like that. Music, though. So could you explain to me how you understand how vibrations create healing? What happens there?
That's deep. That's very deep.
Yeah. Have we thought about that? Like, how is that? How does that even work? When you sing, how does that bring healing?
Okay, it's not guaranteed.
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, as any medicine also, I would say, when you take medicine, it's not guaranteed 100%.
Yeah, but I just want to be clear that I don't consider myself a healer. I don't think that I'm a goddess or no. This is my service. Fair. And this is my offering. Fair. And this is the best I can do with what I have.
Fair.
That's it. And if it's not enough, or if it's not applicable, or if it's not the correct fit for one, then that's okay.
Totally.
It's the best I can do with what I have. Mm-hmm. What can I do?
Or like healing, the music and sound, how do you understand how does that work?
Okay, well, most people nowadays have experienced a sound bath, and not all sound baths are equal at all. Okay. So if someone listening has experienced a sound bath and didn't like it, then it's kind of like anything. Imagine that you're shopping, go to another store, try something else, and then try something else, and try something else. But the essence of sound bath is that those vibrations will break through your physical body and shake everything because they are vibrations. And so it's vibrational healing. And slower patterns will slow down one's heart rate and one's breath, because it's all synced, and it's in the law of resonance. Even if there are two clocks in the same room, but they're on different times, over time, they will get to the same rhythm. And that happens with everything that's vibrational. That's why you can be by someone that's really hyper and they can make you hyper. Or you can be by someone who's depressed and they make you depressed. The same thing can happen, but with specific instruments. So what are those instruments? They all have specific frequencies. Right. What are those frequencies? Chords, tones, and notes. Mm-hmm. So when you play a specific sequence of those chords, tones, or notes, you create specific frequencies in patterns, and then people will receive them, and depending on how that person's energy is, they'll be more or less receptive, and they'll move the energy, or it'll just bounce off of them, and it will work to a different extent to each human every single time.
And how much is it the physical manifestation of the sound that we hear and we can measure, and how much is it like some kind of intentionality or something beyond the physical? Is that even a part of the experience? Like, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Are we talking about in ceremonial settings or in sound healing?
And sing, like when you deliver, singing maybe during ceremony, apart from what people hear. I guess the deeper question, would it make a difference if it was a recording playing to them?
It depends on the person and their sensitivity level.
Yeah.
In ceremonial settings, oftentimes people will perceive the difference immediately.
Okay.
In a recent ceremony, I was the only musician, and it was a 5-hour ceremony. And at a certain moment, I needed to go to the restroom. And that was like a 1-minute experience. I walked out, did my thing, came back. And during that time, the co-facilitator put on music from a speaker. And afterwards in the sharing circle, the participants were like, one woman said, "That music from a can?" And everyone else was like, "That break in the music was challenging." They could very clearly perceive the music. But of course, it can also depend on the quality of speakers in the setting.
Right.
But I would say that, yes, intentionality is very different. And also a difference between recorded music and music that's live is the interaction. When the musician is there live and present and experiencing alongside and with, and not just alongside, but amidst, immersed in that experience with everybody. They can tailor the songs, whether that is the speed and the cadence of the songs, or maybe they do some different variations to add sonoric sparkles with the guitar because they know that people are in the peak. And so if they just do a little with the guitar or with the voice, whereas a song from a speaker would just be like boom, boom, boom. It's a very different experience because you're weaving the sonoric fabric that everybody is laying under and in.
And that weaving or that fabric or that pattern cannot be encapsulated in the medium that you could be translated at another setting in another time. Meaning, can you still record it in some way, or that's also only like an experience that happens in the moment, in the present?
One could record that, but then if you record what we did in this ceremony last Sunday, and then next Sunday we have a ceremony, it's going to be a different group and it's going to be different moments. If you look at the timestamp on ceremony from last Sunday, and then we take that same exact, like 2 hours and 17 minutes in this ceremony this week, it might be a different energy. And so that same song and that same way of singing the song is not going to be best of service. It might be of service, but it's not going to be the same emission of energy. Yeah.
Understand, yeah.
It's kind of like your favorite song. You might not want to hear it at all moments of the day.
Right. It's in similar, strangely, that I see this analogy. Like a great DJ would feel the crowd and they would play the song that like just resonates, starts kind of like that.
Yes, exactly like that.
Yeah.
Yes, because I must have an enormous Rolodex of songs in various languages in my brain and be able to just pull them out.
If I hit.
Not even at the drop of the hat, like on the exhalation. Like this person is going through this. Okay, change instruments, change everything, change language. Yeah. Kind of like a DJ needs to know their set. They need to know everything in their USB. They need to know every single BPM, every single melody. What key is it in so it doesn't clash?
How many songs do you remember how to sing or play?
Oh, I have no idea.
Is it in like tens or like hundreds? Like what's the...
It's like over 100, definitely. Right now I sing in 6 different languages.
What are the languages?
I sing in Spanish, English, Portuguese, Hawaiian, Gurmukhi, Sanskrit, and Yoruba. And then I learned one song in Hebrew, but I'd like to learn another.
Should learn one in Russian. I'm just kidding. That's going to sound, yeah, like German.
I'm open to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. Okay. And the whole notion of the ceremony is becoming commercialized in a way, like more and more ceremonies of different kind are popping up everywhere. Can you give me a definition? What is a ceremony first? Like what?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
What is a ceremony? You mean the ceremonies in which I work, or just any ceremony in general?
Yeah, maybe like a more broader definition. What's what is a ceremony? Yeah.
Well, my friends and I have a lot of jokes.
Okay.
And one of them is that life is a ceremony. Every ceremony must have a clear beginning and a clear ending. Life has that. And ceremony will have beautiful moments and challenging moments. And you will have someone guiding, and there will be some kind of a medicine there. And you will learn something. And it might not be what you want to learn. And it's always best to go in with no expectations, but do your best job. And I would say that that's life as well.
Yeah, I like that. What is
do the best you can.
Yeah. What would you say, is there a way to prepare for a ceremony?
Which ceremony? Life?
Any ceremony, yeah. Like the one that you described that has beginning and end, and there are some ups and downs. Is there a way to, before entering a new ceremony, yes, there are like sub-ceremonies, but in general, like to go on the journey into ceremony, is there a way to prepare?
You want to have, and it's the same as life. If you want to have a pleasant ceremony,
Yeah.
which is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Take care of your health, clean your house, take care of your relationships, because if you have physical problems, that's going to come up in ceremony. The medicine is not going to be easy to digest. If you have relationship problems, that's going to be in your head. That's going to be in your mind. And it's not going to be a beautiful ceremony. You'll learn something from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then clean your house. You need a clean temple.
Can you share with me one of your best ceremonies and one of your worst ceremonies, or like the most challenging ceremonies?
Oh, wow. That's fun. Well, apparently one of my best ceremonies, I don't even remember.
Okay.
Because
Why was it one of the best then?
it was 5-MeO Bufo.
Okay.
And it was hilarious because I was working at this retreat, and it was the first night of the retreat, and I was one of the facilitators. Okay. So a lot of times people see facilitators as superior, but at the end of the day, we're all humans. We all have a mother and a father, and we all have our ups and downs and go through heartbreak and have to pay taxes and whatever. But some people would see a facilitator as superior, and I'm not. I'm just a human. But that night, all of the facilitators decided we were going to serve each other and bless the ceremony room, while all the participants were outside receiving a sound bath from a local musician. This was in Mexico, and the ceremony room had open windows that overlooked a lagoon, and it was on an incline with a beautiful grassy hill. And so everyone was down on the hill, and we were up in this room with open windows. And I received the medicine, and it was a large dose, so I went straight into it. And apparently, I had an operatic cosmic orgasm.
Okay.
I was like, ooh! And I was screaming, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I completely don't remember anything about it, but all of the participants heard
Yeah.
this orgasm,
Of course.
operatic cosmic orgasm. And and I had no idea. And then afterwards I went downstairs to get some water. And the
Did
participants...
they know it was you?
Yes.
How?
They came over one by one, and they were like, you had a good time, huh? And I was like, what do you mean? Because none of the co-facilitators told me. They were all just like, okay, very nice.
Okay. How did they know it was your voice?
Because they knew who was in that room.
Okay.
And I was,
The singer.
yeah. So that might be it. But I don't know if it counts if I don't, since I didn't remember it. Maybe my best ceremony, I would say my favorite ceremony would be a peyote ceremony in which I was in a teepee with very talented medicine servers. They knew their stuff. They knew how to hold the energy, connect the energy, and conduct the circle. I like circles that are strict and loving at the same time. That's how I like my teachers. Compassionate and also strong.
And what happened during that ceremony for you?
During that ceremony, we were in a teepee, and it was so full. There was 2 rows of people, and the people were purging. And I'd say 97% of the people purged. I didn't purge, and the water drum was so intense. The drummer knew what she was doing, and it was just really powerful medicine. And the energy, because of the facilitators, was it was inwards and upwards, and very fire, very beautiful. And it was eye-opening. It was just very well conducted.
But it sounds like you were very much there, present. You didn't fly into another planet to get an experience.
Yeah. It wasn't a psychedelic experience. It was very human, which is beautiful because we get to witness people in their vulnerability and in their strength, which I think a lot of times people don't remember that we can be both. It's kind of like combo. One falls apart generally, like it's warrior medicine. And so if you purge, that's a moment of great vulnerability, but it took courage to get there. And then once you've gotten that out of you, you're stronger because you put yourself through that challenging experience. Yeah. So those would be my my favorite or my best. And then my worst ceremony so far, it wasn't even
what's
that bad.
challenging, yeah.
The most challenging was one time it was a yahe ceremony.
What is yahe?
Yahe is like ayahuasca coming from a Colombian lineage. Yeah. And there was, at that property where the ceremony was, women could use the bathroom inside, but guys had to use a portable bathroom that was outside very close to the circle. And a gentleman went into the portable bathroom pretty early in the ceremony, and he was screaming and crying alternatively off and on for the entire ceremony. He had just locked himself in the bathroom and was screaming at himself and apologizing. And he was right by the circle, and so that was the soundtrack for the whole ceremony.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's just part of life.
That's right, exactly. The ceremonies that you've done a lot of retreats and ceremonies and things like that. Share with me some of the most memorable, like crazy experiences, moments that you've seen in those circles that happen there.
Oh, I feel like we're playing Truth or Dare from someone who wants to like tell me all the good stuff.
Of course, you know.
Okay, so the most memorable experiences from those?
Yeah. Or like
Some people fall back in love. Couples that fall back in love with one another.
Okay.
And it was heartwarming beyond tear-jerking. I was a little puddle of tears.
They were like kind of separated before they
Yeah.
and then
They were cold to each other. And then they fell back in love. In the last ceremony, they were cuddling together. It was so beautiful because we had been together for 10 days. It's a 10-day immersive retreat. And they had never sat together at a meal. And they never had any physical affection. And I understand that in different cultures, sometimes people are affectionate in public and others they're not. But they never, not even verbally were they affectionate. It was kind of like roommates.
Yeah.
And then in the end, they were cuddling.
Any like mystical experiences that stood out, like you remember clearly, like, wow, this was beyond.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Share with me a few.
Okay. Mystical experience. So this is not things that I have witnessed from other people. These are things within myself.
Both, yeah.
Downloads.
Within yourself, within others, just in the setting of the facilitated experience like that. I'm sure that like every time there's something happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Just give me one or two.
Okay. 1 or 2 mystical experiences. Yeah. There was one time when we were in Mexico and a tropical storm came through, and the property on which we were was all solar. And because there was a tropical storm, the solar batteries couldn't recharge. So all of our ceremonies were by candlelight. And in those ceremonies, the elements of wind and rain were perfectly timed for the energy of the ceremonies. And it was wild how when someone would be going through an intense breakthrough, the wind would be and sheets of rain, and then the people would exhale, and then it would just be quiet, and then we'd hear a bird. And then someone else would have a difficult moment. It'd be and it was like, which is causing which? Which is first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
Is it the weather that's causing this? Or I think that it was the weather that was cleansing all that energy out. Because that's what the elements do. They wash it away or they suck it out. And it was just nonstop. And all of us were like, did you? I'm actually getting chicken skin right now.
Yeah.
Thinking about it.
Crazy. So multiple people were recognizing that was
the
happening.
facilitators. Yeah.
Right,
Because
right.
we were the most present. Everyone else was
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then the power of group experiences when back to the music, back to so when you're singing yourself or you singing in the circle, what's the difference usually?
When I sing by myself versus singing with the circle, I feel so much more of service
Okay.
when I'm with people. Because when I sing to myself, for example, today I had a tough couple of moments, That's why I walked over to one of my instruments and started singing. And that's like a self sound healing, creating those vibrations.
Yeah.
And when I'm with people, I feel like I can be more of service.
Is there a component of like an amplification of energy when there are more people, maybe they're putting some intention into it as well? Have you noticed anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. Because in a lot of ceremonies, it's interesting, not all ceremonies people will state their intentions. Some people actually say, we don't need an intention because the medicine is going to do what it's going to do.
Yeah.
And if you have an intention and what you receive has nothing to do with that intention, then will you feel like a failure? So just go in with an open heart. There are lots of different perspectives, but
Yeah.
group ceremonies are very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we all heal with each other. And hearing one person's story helps you feel more human. And I think that nowadays that's what people need, which is part of your podcast, Future Human. We need a lot more human contact because it's a lot of screens with filters and edits and just knowing that we're not alone. And like this person looks like they have everything together and they're making so much money and they have this clothes and those clothes and this kind of manicure, but they also suffered and they went through it.
Of course, yeah.
And it's so bonding. Connecting through, it's not a trauma bond, just connecting through real life experience. Yeah, especially in nature.
Yeah. Speaking of human future, could you give me your definition of desirable human future?
Excuse me?
Like what does a desirable human future look like for you?
Wow, I'd never really separate any species from another. So a desirable human future.
Yeah, the future in which humans are still around, you know?
Wow. Wow. I'm going to need a minute to think about that. What is a desirable human future? Well, a desirable human future is one in which we are grateful and living harmoniously, not only amongst ourselves, but amongst our planet.
And how everything that you do, what is your vision that you're working towards? What is your guiding North Star, would you say?
It probably sounds so cheesy, but elevated awareness.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it all comes down to, raising awareness. And by raising awareness, we are creating more connection and more unity in the world. And I'm contributing to that as well, by building bridges and raising awareness. I see the next stage of evolution is us creating a new organism, let's call it a conscious earth, in the similar way how our body consists of cells. They all have some intelligence. They're not obviously as intelligent as humans are. And so combination of less intelligent organisms combine and create this super organism. And I think we are in the next stage of creating a super organism that consists of human intelligence and maybe not only human intelligence. And so it's going to be and you know how in our body information travels with no boundaries. There are no like borders or taxes or other things, you know. It's just if
passports,
you know, if there's a cut on one part of the body, needed amount of resources will be delivered to it, and yes, there are maybe cancerous cells and bacteria and other things, but if the body is healthy, it balances it out and it lives as a healthy organism. And I see a very similar. So you said, less technology. In fact, I see technology is an enabler for that to happen, where the internet is a backbone. It's kind of like a nervous system through which information travels to all humans. So all humans are becoming aware of the bigger system that they're part of.
Yeah. And although I might seem very anti-technology, and I am pretty hippie, honestly, but I'm a clean hippie, elegant hippie. I do see the value, because it's kind of like, if we can't beat them, join them, because it's a great tool.
Yes.
I don't know about enabler, but it's a great tool to connect and to learn. And so it's just using your tools wisely and realizing their function and their capacity and seeing how it can best serve one's mission without letting it become a distraction. Because I see a lot of tools become distractions too.
Of course. Yeah, distraction and also intentionality, what you put into it when you use them, with social media, with anything. And I think content is such an important activity that all of us now participating in, either in consumption or production. There should be a lot of intention that goes into especially production of content, in a similar way how we went through and still part of the wave of food production. There's a lot of unhealthy food where, corporations just optimizing for profit, and they don't really care about, they don't put much intention into the health of the food. Although now it's starting to slowly change because people are becoming aware. It's kind of the other.
But it's a huge overhaul that's necessary.
Yeah.
I was just looking at tea today, and it's so frustrated because I use my own herbs for tea, and I have some old tea boxes that are relatively expensive teas from good companies, we could say. And I look, and they still have additives. And I ask myself, why are there additives in tea?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so unnecessary.
Right. Yeah, there's an optimization for profit that's getting in the way. I think companies should exist for the purpose of providing some value or good into the world on the grand scheme, like a win-win. And the profitability is a secondary goal, not the primary goal of the business. Yeah, we have it kind of backwards. Yeah. In closing, maybe you can share any resources or action or something that you want people to take out of this. Point people to any of your coming retreats or anything like that.
Yeah. So you can find my music on all major platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, as Emilia Garth. It's EMILIAGARTH. And my call to action is to spend more time in nature. And if you love anybody, tell them that you love them. And it's very simple. This is actually a more specific call to action. If anyone comes to your mind today, or in the near future, ever, and you love them or you're grateful for them, send them a voice note. And just let them know that you appreciate them. And if you're not a voice note person, send them a quick message with a little sticker and emoji, because you never know how much that can change someone's day. Truly, you might save a life. At the very least, you'll change someone's day, moment, hour, mood. But on the greater scheme, it's a ripple effect. And changing their attitude will change everyone's attitude around them. So be that change.
Beautiful. Beautiful way to close the ceremony.
No, but it's so true. You know how those messages can just change your day?
Totally.
And it costs you nothing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
One time I was doing it was years ago, a Deepak Chopra meditation. And he was like, today, give everyone you see a gift. You don't need to buy anything. Maybe it's a flower or maybe it's a smile. And I thought, I'm going to tell everybody when they come into my mind, because your mind is valuable real estate. And so, wow, your gift, if you're thinking of that person, you're gifting them your time and your cognitive power. And then if you're thinking something sweet about them, let them know. Mm-hmm. You're giving them a gift.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I think all of us recognize that we don't do this enough. Like there's more to do always in that domain.
And it's so simple.
So simple, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess because people don't see it as productive, they don't do it. But it is productive if you want a happier world. Mm-hmm. It's not by buying anything. It's by doing something.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was great.